Hey guys, welcome to Wrestling Daze and welcome to today's NIGHTBIRD video, an unexpected NIGHTBIRD video. I thought we might do something. I didn't know we were going to do this because we've got a brand new journal entry. So if we go down in the journal, obviously you can find this at www.com/archive_recovered, right? We can see there's a new one at the bottom that is called Massacre. So we've got Massacre, and this obviously follows on from what we saw on WWE.com. WWE.com, on the homepage, there was a message titled Hello, and it was from seemingly Uncle Howdy, and he told us what his motivation was. He told us why this group had come together. He told us that a massacre was on the way, and this kind of just furthers that. So it's titled Massacre. Doesn't appear to be anything hidden in the source codes. Doesn't appear to be anything hidden on the page. Music sounds exactly the same. It's still awful. The first letter doesn't spell anything. We've seen that before, where the first letter spells out June 17. This doesn't do anything, right? So I think this is quite simple, to the point. I think it's just setting up where we're going next. So here, it's called Massacre. The eye of the storm approaches. So we're getting closer. It is inevitable. It's going to happen. One chance of survival. Instructions to follow. So we're going to get instructions on how to survive the forthcoming massacre. And obviously this is intriguing, and obviously we still don't quite know why they're visiting those houses. I mean, it could be that those houses are meant to be houses of people that have been recruited, but it was very hard to find any links to any of the members from that last house visit. There's no theories that I'm aware of that that was Erick Rowan's house or it was Dexter Lumis's house. If anything, people have found it's actually Rob Fee's house. He's the director of character development, and so people have gone onto his Instagram and they've matched up the chairs, matched up the pictures on the wall. It's his house. And I don't know if maybe we're getting a little bit inside baseball. Like, are we meant to know that it is his house? It feels like we're blaming creative. It feels like Rob Fee might be one of the enemies. I don't want to say one of the victims, but if you think about what was said in that post, they spoke about how if currency is crumpled up and it's thrown and tossed to the side, does it lose its value? No, it's still valuable. It's just not being utilized, right? It's not being treated properly. And that kind of applies to wrestling. If you think about someone like Nikki Cross, who could be a women's champion, but it's just that creative aren't using her properly. Dexter Lumis could be a world champion, but creative aren't using him properly. And it does kind of point towards these wrestlers that aren't being used properly. It would be a bit strange to go after Rob Fee, right? It would be a bit strange to kind of go after the bookers, because we're not really meant to know that the shows are scripted. We're not really meant to know that the shows are not as they seem, right? We're meant to believe what we see on TV is real, of course, and I can't imagine that they would do that. But there's no theory as to who that last house belonged to. There was a theory that the first place belonged to Nikki Cross, and that was a good theory. It felt like a solid theory, but people are now coming to the conclusion that that first place was Rob Fee's place as well. So it's quite confusing, to be honest with you. I can't sit here and give you any clarity on that because there's no theories on that. No one's got any kind of thoughts other than what we've just said of, is it meant to be Rob Fee's house? Are we meant to know it's Rob Fee's house? Because we are pretty sure it's Rob Fee's house. And to be honest, he hasn't done much of a job of hiding it. You know, he could have took the pictures down. He could have changed the chairs. he didn't have to post that Instagram video that he posted on Monday, which clearly showed the same TV and it showed the same units in the same room. Like, he showed us that because he wanted to show us the QR code in 2K24. He didn't have to do that, but he did it. And I think he did it for a reason. I think he did it so that we saw the TV and we saw the units. So it has got me thinking. It has got me mulling over what they're trying to communicate. And I would love to know what your thoughts are on that. What do you think they're trying to communicate with these house visits? It feels like Uncle Howdy is visiting these houses, but why? Why is he visiting these houses? Why do they feel like they're the same house as well? Why do both examples feel like they're both Rob Fee? Or maybe we're just not meant to know. Perhaps we're just too good at investigating. And maybe we just weren't meant to draw those comparisons, find those connections. So I wanted to put that out there because that, I would say, is probably the biggest question I've got right now. I feel like we know who's in the group. We sort of know why they're coming together. We've seen the process of them getting their invitations and being invited to join. We haven't seen the moment that they all get together, but I feel like that's on the way. We obviously don't know who the bride is. I would say that's the second biggest question. For many people, it might be the biggest question, but I feel like that's going to be revealed eventually. But I just don't know about these house visits. So I wanted to put that out there. I think that's something interesting to chew over. But so that is the update, the Massacre update. What we're going to do is we're going to go over, we'll come off full screen, and we'll go into the NIGHTBIRD folder, because I've got a few bits in here that I want to kind of walk through and have a chat with you guys about. And quite a bit, actually. I didn't realize there was this much. So Danielle said Alexa had frowning faces on her nameplate, similar to the faces with the crosses and the sad faces. Now, this was obviously connected to the same video, if you will, of that break-in where we saw that kind of shadowy figure. I don't think that was Alexa. It felt too big, too tall. If you think about the size of a door and how much of the door frame got covered, I don't know that that would be Alexa. But maybe this is in some way a reference to Alexa. So, yeah, it is true. She's got these crosses and sad faces as part of her previous entrance that definitely do sort of match what we're seeing here. So, food for thought. I love this. Again, you know, we're talking about these connections between these homes and being Rob Fee's house. Well, here's BMS453, Kelly, said the post that T. Lil sent is correct. It is where Howdy was. Look at what I circled. The first picture is from Rob Fee's place, so I'm imagining this is from his Instagram or something. You can see the lake outside, you can see the trees, and that could be any lake, and it could be any trees. But here you can see this pot, right? And then over here, look, the same pot, or what looks to be the same pot. And that is actually from the QR code. That is from the video. That's when we zoom in and we see Howdy with his arms outstretched. So we can make these connections to show that this is Rob Fee's place. But again, are we meant to know that? Have we gone too far? I just don't know. I just don't know. But love this. I thought this was absolutely brilliant. And it is true that people have also matched the windows to show that they are the same. And as I said before, the windows, I think they're going to be quite common. I would imagine that all the houses in this area and probably surrounding areas will have like similar windows. But these pots, I don't know that every house is going to have this exact same pot. It's just strengthening the connection, you know. But what are they trying to communicate with that? Tamin Pasta said, I can confirm that the background image that was used for recapitulation is literally the same one from Space Jam. It's just that a red star has been added in. Isn't that amazing? So apparently it is connected to that Space Jam one. We were trying to figure out what that website looked like, why it looked how it looked. the most recent website, the recapitulation one, that had all the QR codes at the top, the links to the Twitch streams, the link to that picture that we saw there, right? The one from Friday. And we found that it was the same as Space Jam, which is actually one of the oldest websites on all of the internet. It's one of the oldest websites. It's quite famous for that. A lot of people regard it as the beginning, right? I don't believe it is, but it is one of the oldest. And apparently it is the same background as the Space Jam one. It's just that they've added a red star in that wasn't there for the Space Jam one. And obviously that makes us think of Bray. We believe Bray to be the color red because he said he was red in a world of black and white. So that makes a lot of sense for them to add in a red star. Right, Q Hicks said, can you see the parallels between... Oh, okay, so this is in response to Karrion Kross, right? This might be a little bit of a walk, but that's okay, because I could do with the exercise. So let's whoosh it over. So here, look, Gina Christina said, did you write this? Right, and it's a link to that June 17, right? Did you write this? Now, obviously, we don't believe it to be Karrion. Why would it be Karrion? Didn't even cross my mind, right? It's Uncle Howdy explaining why he's bringing a massacre, right? Karrion says, hello, Gina. Before I answer this question, what would lead you to believe that I wrote this, right? Gina responded, because your thoughts are very deep and cryptic, so I thought maybe it could be you. If it's not, then I apologize. Karrion said, nothing to apologize about. You're not the first to ask me. I was simply curious. And no, it wasn't me. Who else do you think it could be? Right? It's very interesting because I think if you've not been following Nightbirds, you probably would go to WWE.com. You would see this article. And you would have many questions, wouldn't you? I mean, we know and have followed the story, and we've got many questions. So imagine someone that seemingly has not been scanning the QR codes, right? Or for some reason, not been watching this channel. I mean, so you could understand them being a bit lost, and you could understand them going, is this Karrion Kross? But they've reached out to Karrion. Karrion's confirmed it wasn't him, which is obviously really cool. So he's come out and said, no, it's not me. For anyone thinking, oh, was it? No, he said it isn't, right? But let's go down. We've got here. Q Hicks said, she sees the parallels between you and the words of the red. Collision course or cooperation? So quote tweeting what Karrion said, right? Basically saying she can see that you're very similar to Bray in places. Could you be on a collision course or could you work with them? Is it going to be conflict or is it going to be cooperation? And he responded, you'll see. That's a really good response because I don't even know if he knows what the plan is, right? I don't know if he's got any connection, obviously, to what's going on with the Wyatt Six. But it's a great response because I think a lot of us had theorized that Karrion could be a future target for this group. Because obviously that's a faction. You know, Karrion with the Authors of Pain. And that would be a good opponent for, say, Uncle Howdy, Bo Dallas, Erick Rowan, Dexter Lumis, you know. Nikki Cross could go off maybe and attack Scarlet. I don't know what Joe Gacy would do. Perhaps he could take out Paul Ellering. But, yeah, they are a potential future opponent. So Karrion saying you'll see is kind of interesting. So I really like that. Brandy said, I wonder if the letter from the QR code is related to Joe Gacy. We were watching his entrance whilst he was in Schism, and the smileys have X's for eyes, just like those sad faces. So people are finding all of these connections. We know that the smiley face is very much connected with Joe Gacy. But to be honest, I didn't realize that they'd been using X's for eyes So funny how, like, now we're looking into that, it's showing in Alexa's entrance. You can go back and watch Schism, which was Joe Gacy's group down in NXT. He was in that group with The Rock's daughter, Ava, which probably opens up some really exciting possibilities in the future. What with her being a former follower of Joe Gacy. Grizzled Young Veterans were the other team. I think they were known as the Dyad. They're no longer with WWE, unfortunately, so I don't see them featuring at any point. But Ava is still around. She's obviously GM in NXT, so as I said, that offers up some interesting future opportunities. Right, Jacob said, has anyone seen the video where Bray is sitting in a chair staring at the screen? I believe he's watching his match back. It might be the Pitch Black match. Almost stuck on it. Howdy walks up and then Bray looks at him. So I thought this was kind of interesting because at the time, I mean, it was only a brief, like, few seconds on SmackDown. It just had Bray sat on a chair looking at a shutter, and I believe watching one of his matches being projected onto this shutter. I think it was a shutter, could have been a wall. But Uncle Howdy walks up and I think puts his hand on his shoulder and then turns and looks at the camera. And I thought this was a really good comparison, how Bray momentarily was looking at projections. It was his match, but he was looking at that. He was watching that. And then Howdy kind of came and, I suppose in a way, set him free from that brief moment. So I thought that was a really fun kind of callback and comparison. Don't know that there's any connection there, but I just thought it was really, really good. So, yeah, very good. I'll tell you, there's another thing about that moment, though. I think it was the Ryan Satin interview. It may not have been, but Bray did an interview around that time where he said he never watches his matches back. He also said in that interview, you won't see The Fiend anymore. I think The Fiend's done. I've got no plans to, bring The Fiend back. And people were disappointed in that. And he said, I never watch my matches back as well. And then literally, like a few days after the interview on SmackDown, he is shown watching one of his matches back. So he lied. Bray lied about not watching his matches back. And they showed us him watching his match. To me, that moment was the moment they, in a very clever way, basically said, don't believe what Bray said to you in that interview, which means don't believe you're not going to get The Fiend. And you know what? How funny, because in that documentary, we saw a new Fiend. So there was a Fiend that was on the way. So he did lie in that interview. And then that takes us down this road of lying and liar, and that being something that Uncle Howdy detests. And it does make me wonder why Bray lied so blatantly. I don't know. I don't know what the connection there would be, but God, there's so many threads that you can pull. There's so many rabbit holes that you can jump down if you so want to. It's what a story. Wrestling Riant said, an interesting note. I was just going through a few old QR codes. I don't know if it was noted at the time, but the QR code for Sol Rutilio was a video that gives these coordinates, and it takes us to Cross Cave in Slovenia. Most of us felt, let's bring it over. Most of us felt the reason was because of Plato's cave, escaping the cave and cross. So Nikki Cross. So it was known as Cross Cave, right? Which were valid points. But the cave in particular was chosen because on the 6th of January, 2024, 5 people went missing in the cave and were rescued 2 days later. Can't just be a coincidence. Howdy rescuing 5 wrestlers from a dark cave as well to make the Wyatt 6. This was a new insight for me on this clue. And to be honest with you, I can't even remember what we spoke about with this. I think this is one of the OG Nightbird QR codes, so we may have covered this. I genuinely can't remember, but I enjoyed reading it and I was like, yeah, that's really cool. So it's a nice refresh, right? If nothing else. And honestly, maybe the first time we've even touched on it. I do remember the whole cave thing and it being Cross Cave and the connection with Nikki Cross and the connections to Plato Cave. All of this bit here about 5 people being missing and then being rescued, just like what Howdy is doing. I mean, I think he's rescued maybe 4, but it would be 5 if you count Alexa as well, because technically we saw him starting to rescue her, like around that Royal Rumble and just before when he kept turning up and visiting her. So, yeah, I really like this. Again, there's a lot of stuff in here which, you know, not everyone might be on board with. Not everyone might be like, oh, I like that, but I like that. I thought that was very good. So, Wrestling Rian, shout out to you. And Wrestling Rian, with even more here, said, well spotted to It's Tyler 420. As a Muslim, I should have made the link sooner. It's also the Muslim religious holiday of Eid on June 17th. Eid ul-Adha is a feast of sacrifice relating to the biblical story of Abraham celebrated in Islam. It's such a coincidence it falls on June 17th. So there we go. Eid is apparently on June 17th as well, which I don't know the story of Eid, but apparently it's a biblical story and it's to do with a feast of sacrifice. Crazy, isn't it? Crazy. So potentially another connection there. Stutz said, not sure this has been brought to your attention. Let me play it, take the sound off. But if you go by clicking the invitation Pluto, then click the word invitation, you get this. Now, I wanted to include this because if you've not been following the NIGHTBIRD campaign, or maybe you've joined it a little bit later, you may not have seen these things, but these also featured in previous QR codes. So it is worth just mentioning that it's not only the video clips that are in that recapitulation. You know, the whole... I wonder if we can click on it, actually. I may even be able to go back and find it and click on it. So if we click on that, and then if we go full screen. So if you click on, forget which one that was that we was just looking at. If we click on, say, invitation, right? So you get the video, okay, playing. But then if you click up here, then it brings you to this. And this featured in the original QR code. So we have seen this before. This isn't new, right? I think if you put like something like Bray in there, press enter, the word remembered comes up. And I think was prisoner one as well. Prisoner. No, did I spell that right? Prisoner. Set free. There we go. You do have to be good at spelling. So there's only certain words that will come back with responses. I think it was Bo one as well. He saw. It's cool, isn't it? It's cool. But most words you put in, like jelly, just gets that sense organs response. So there we go. So it is just worth mentioning that if you click on the actual thing, you'll get the video. But then if you click at the top, you will get anything extra that was in that QR codes. For this one, it was just the video for that one. So that was a bad example. But there we go. If we come back over and undo that, big shout outs. Because people might not have known that. So excellent work there by Stutz. Okay, EMT/FF Daddy said, CM Punk just posted this. Is it a coincidence? Help me, Dallas. You're my only hope. So here we've got Princess Leia. This is from the OG Star Wars, right? I think, doesn't she talk to Obi-Wan Kenobi? But he's replaced it with the word Dallas. And I don't know why. It may be something to do with the basketball. I mean, obviously, people are thinking Bo Dallas. I got tagged in this a few times. So I'm guessing that it is the basketball. I mean, it does say Dallas Stars. So I'm guessing that is a hint. Next, we've got this from Dan. Look, Dan said, I just realized that 168197 at the bottom adds up to 365, which matches the days in the year, which is pretty cool. Now, there's a couple of thoughts on this. I've had people tagging me, rightfully so, in pointing out that this is actually a leap year, which means that the 168 won't land on June 17 like we thought it would, because this year is a leap year. So it means that I think it should actually be 169 for it to be landing on June 17. Now, what I'm going to say with that is brilliant, right? Well remembered, right? Because I'd forgotten it was a leap year. And to be perfectly truthful, I think the person that made this easily could have forgot it was a leap year as well. If you sit down and you want to point to June 17, you can go to Google and just type in how many days is it from the start of the year to June 17. The answer comes back 168. And then you can say, how many days is it from June 17 to the end of the year? The answer comes back 197. You can easily just go with that and not think about it. Because obviously leap years are so strange. They happen every 4 years. If you've forgotten that it was a leap year, I could easily see this catching someone out. So I'm not ready, not even close to ready, to abandoning the theory that that's what this was about, right? That 168 is in relation to it being June 17, and then 197 takes you through to the end of the year. Add them both together, and of course you would get 365, which would be the full year, right? So, I mean, in a way, the 168 gets you to June 17 from the start of the year, and the 197 gets you to June 17 from the end of the year. And so really both numbers coming from both ends of the year point to June 17. The problem is, I really think they forgot that it was a leap year, and I think they got the number wrong, right? I have had other theories, because obviously it's not very satisfying to think that a mistake has been made. But I think if you think of the amount of clues and the amount of stuff that's been in this NIGHTBIRD campaign, I'm all right with believing that there's been the odd mistake in there. And I just think this is too specific. I just think these numbers are just too bang on. If it wasn't a leap year, both ends of the year would be pointing to June 17. I'm not ready to abandon that theory. And I've not seen any theories that replace it, to be honest. I've not seen any theories that are like better than that theory. But there are other theories. There is another theory, I think, was it up here? I tried to find a theory to do with the Crucible. Here, day 197. So day 197 is July 15th. July 15th falls on a Monday. July 15th is the day that Bray returned as the Fiend. My theory is, what if July 15th is the day we see Howdy become Bray's dream creation? This ties in with the Bible verse of 13:1, the beast getting powers from Satan. So Shadow's theory is that the 197, it might not be the end of the year going to June 17. It might actually be that it's pointing to day 197, which would be July 15th, which happens to be the day that Bray attacked Finn Balor. I do like that. I do like that. I don't mind it being a case that the first number points to, or is meant to point to, June 17, and the second number is meant to point to this date, which just so happened to be the same date that we saw the Fiend attack Finn Balor. I really don't mind that, right? I could definitely go with that. But I'm not ready to abandon that these numbers relate to days in the year yet, unless there is a better theory that comes along. But I can go with this one for the second number. I can go with this for that. So I thought that was excellent. There was one to do with the Crucible, and honestly, I thought I'd saved it in here. Perhaps I saved it in a different one, which I didn't understand. People have tagged me in this. There's some Crucible play, and lines 167 to lines, or 168 to 197 are to do with Abigail and stuff like that. But I don't know how we got to that Crucible play. I don't know if someone sort of put like a few keywords into ChatGPT and it came back with something like this. I don't know how we've got to I don't know how we've got to this. I don't know how we got there. So for me, until I can kind of understand that process a little bit better, I'm not quite on board with that theory. But it is interesting that lines 168 to 197 in that play, I believe it to be a play, The Crucible, talk about a character called Abigail. But I just think the Daze one is too specific, to be honest. Right, here we've got David, who said, didn't notice at first until I adjusted some brightness and colours. Who is that man? Super creepy. Looks like someone standing facing to her left. Do we know it's a her? So here, look, if I go full screen on this one, you can see someone that's got seemingly their hands over their faces, right, like that. Over their face. And then is this someone to the side? That does look like a jacket, in all fairness. That does look like a jacket, and that does look like an arm here. Maybe a head, but I don't know. I mean, I could believe that that is just a coat that's maybe hanging up on the wall. I don't know about this bit here. I mean, that looks like hair, but it doesn't look normal, does it? And that doesn't look normal. That could be a mask, I suppose. But where's this person going? Are they walking off to the side? Is it two people? Is it just a trick of the mind? I mean, I can see this one. I can see this one, but you're right. What is this? What is that? So David said he adjusted the colors and the brightness and he managed to get this. What is it? What is it? I don't know what it is. I don't have an answer for it. I don't know. I'm interested, though, and I'm sure you're interested as well. So there we go. That was something that was found by David. Excellent work. We spoke about that, the day 197. Resort Rian said, did we ever get to the bottom of this image? What is this black idol? Does it represent something? Well, we did get to the bottom. I didn't. Much cleverer people than me did. But it was found to be that there. So Thomas said, it's this bust sculpture that's called the Veiled Nun. Okay? Now, obviously, that makes us think of Veiled Rude, right? But it also makes us think of the bride. I mean, I think that Veiled Rude and this Veiled Nun definitely feel like they're connected to the bride. And it's very interesting how we've taken this sculpture and we have inverted the colors and made it black, because we know that the bride's thing is white, right? But we know that Sister Abigail wore something similar that was black. So there is a very interesting connection between the bride and Sister Abigail. And it's interesting that we've got this here that's showing the same thing in both of those colors, and it's a sculpture that's called the Veiled Nun, right? And we know that Sister Abigail was, I think she was a spiritual woman that specialized in voodoo, I believe, if my memory serves me correctly. But I believe her to be a sister. Like, she wasn't Bray's actual sister. She was a religious woman. And this is the Veiled Nun. So definitely something to chew over with that as well. So wanted to just bring that to your attention also. Tamin Pasta said, maybe this has already been noted, but it just hit me as I was typing a reply. This probably has some connection to Sister Abigail. The image is an inverted version of the Veiled Nun. Nuns are referred to as sister, solidifying the theory that Sister Abigail was actually a nun. Well, Tamin Pasta, brilliant. If my memory serves me correctly, I think she was voodoo and she sort of taught Bray and showed Bray. She was his mentor in those kind of mystical powers. So, but again, that could be my memory deceiving me. But yeah, I love this from Tamin Pasta. Very, very thought-provoking. And then we've got this final one from NS Mommy saying SmackDown, December 30th, in the Howdy promo, this mask was in Bray's documentary and is a creation with Jason Baker. So there you can see this mask. And this mask, you know, has featured in the White Rabbit campaign very prominently. We did videos all about this mask. And now, of course, we've seen Howdy kind of turn around, and he seemed to have quite a bright white mask, which people are now speculating and wondering if it's a new mask or a new kind of face covering. Maybe he takes it off. He's got his Howdy mask underneath. But, yeah, people are wondering if it's going to be connected to this kind of Court of Owls. That was a group from the Batman comics that wore masks like this. So, yeah, very interesting. Interesting that it's featured a few times. And apparently the mask in the Bray documentary, which I don't recall seeing. When I look at this, I think White Rabbit. Because there was someone during White Rabbit that popped up quite often that wore a mask like this. So, very, very interesting from NS Mommy, as always. So, lots of stuff there. I wanted to make sure that we was digging deep. But we got a couple of fun bits to end on. Look at this. Howdy. Say it back. So here, look, Silverbolt said, I found Uncle Howdy. So it's Xbox, apparently. There's Uncle Howdy on a holiday in Texas. There's his friend. Maybe that's Uncle Harper. There's Alexa Bliss. She is small. Down there with a little cowgirl hat on. So they're just having a little family holiday. It's Howdy. It's Harper. It's Alexa Bliss. And why not? Because it's going to get busy once we get to June 17th. So they might as well have a little holiday. So, oh, bless them. There we go. And then here, look at this. Live Nation. Las Vegas said, Vegas, hold your horses. Wild horses, that is. Big announcement coming tomorrow. Look at that. Big announcement. And Rolando said, it's Uncle Howdy. Let's go. I believe it's Beyonce, but it could be what if Uncle Howdy's got an album coming out? We can't rule it out. There's been so much work that's gone into these QR codes. If he's about to drop the hottest album of the summer, I will not be surprised. So there we go. All eyes on Live Nation Las Vegas tomorrow. And that is it. Thanks a lot for watching. Hope you enjoyed this video. We'll be back tomorrow with our Raw live stream. We're always live 2 hours before Raw. So you can come and join us, and then you can leave and watch the show. Or you can stick around and get our live thoughts, live reaction. Watch us tear the QR code apart live on stream and see the discoveries as and when they happen, who is making them. Contribute yourself. We'll be doing that on Monday, obviously on Raw, and hopefully we get that next piece of the puzzle. So thanks a lot for watching. Appreciate the support. I'll see you next time. Bye for now.